I grew up in a small town in northern Alberta, Canada. My parents were both children of Lebanese immigrants, and my grandmothers were a huge part of my childhood, which meant that we had this mixture of Lebanese and Canadian culture swirling around our home. So basically, we ate a lot of hummus, and we played a lot of hockey. Everything was going well up until 9/11. Then my life kind of got turned around. All of a sudden, mosques started to get vandalized, and my parents were getting phone calls telling them to go back to where they came from. And I can only assume they weren't talking about southern Saskatchewan. And for the first time in my life, I started to feel like an Arab in Canada. I found it very confusing. Canada was the only home I knew, and I was starting to feel like a stranger in my own home. I felt like I needed to do something. I needed to better understand my Arab culture in order to make sense of what was going on in the world. So I packed up my bags and I headed to Lebanon with my camera in hand. And as I connected with my Arab roots, I felt compelled to find a way to share my experiences, to try to combat this growing fear and mistrust that was happening in my hometown and my country. So many years later, I found myself on a back street in Jenin, which is a socially conservative city in the occupied Palestinian territories. I was with a woman named Suna, who was a race car driver from East Jerusalem. She wanted to compete in a race the next day, but she needed a car. So there I found myself standing on this dimly lit street at about midnight. There was a cloud of exhausts hovering over me like a thick, thick fog, and I had about 35 men surrounding me. And everyone was transfixed on Suna as she did donuts in the middle of the road. Here was this fierce and determined woman who was like ripping up the road in the middle of the most conservative city in Palestine. And every man was there cheering her on. This is when it hit me. There was a story here that needed to be told. And so started my journey with the Speed Sisters, the Middle East's first all-women race car driving team.
When I enter this beautiful modified car, 600 horsepower, I feel like the happiest girl in the world.
تغير فكرة المجتمع والشباب إن السيارات مش بس للشباب، البنات بيقدروا يسوقوا ويعملوا سباقات مش بس إنهم يسوقوا السيارات.
بنات يشاركوا على مستوى العالم العربي. احنا اول بنات إلنا فريق وبعيلة عربية وعيلة محافظة كمان تيجي تقولي لهم بدي اشارك بسيارات ورالي السيارات، هقولوا لك وين رايحة انت؟
It's sports, you know, you have to concentrate with your hands, your feet, your brain, everything.
خلي كل العالم تعرف إنه في وحدة اسمها مرح الحالفة بتمثل فلسطين.
So, on the surface, the film I'm making, The Speed Sisters, is about 5 Palestinian women who are defying a military occupation and social pressure to race cars. But at its core, it's a story about the human drive to break through obstacles in our lives in order to stay true to ourselves and our dreams. So it was very obvious to me when I started making this film that it would break every stereotype when it came to Arab women. But What I didn't expect is that through the filmmaking process, I would have to confront my own stereotypes when it came to Middle Eastern society and Arab men. In Western media, Arab men are often portrayed as violent extremists who keep women out of the public eye. And women are shown as weak, passive victims who are stuck in an all-male-dominant society. And we're inundated with images of veiled women, of multiple wives, and of lack of education. How could these men possibly be interested in gender equity? Aren't efforts for gender equity fought against Arab men? Well, the first man that I met while filming Speed Sisters was Mara's father, Khaled. Khaled grew up in a refugee camp in Jenin, that same conservative city I was talking about before. And this is what he has to say about his daughter racing cars.
الكل عمل قال هذا حكي بصيرش وهذا عيب ومش معقول اللي بتعمله انت. قلت لهم لا انا معاها بدها تعمل اللي بدها اياه. فانا بعرفش يعني من الحياه اللي عشتها والحرمان اللي عشته انا والحياه الصعبه اللي انا شفتها انعكست باتجاه اخر بالنسبه لاولادي.
Now, Khaled is a very supportive father, no matter where you come from. But what we soon found out is that he wasn't alone. We found that there were several men that would wanting to support the Speed Sisters in what they're doing. And this is what a few of them had to say.
يعني الصبايا كتير رائعات أنا بفتخر فيهم.
إلا يتم انتخابات احنا والخصاص في الانتخابات تسألك عن السيارات.
في 2013 لازم الكل يسوق قبل ما الواحد يتجوز لازم تكون معها رخصة. هذا شرط.
شوف في تشجيع هنا وفي متفوقات كمان وفي متفوقات عن الشباب أخرى. يعني فيهن جرأة أكثر من بعض الشباب.
احنا بنفتخر إنه في عندنا فريق زي هيك يعني بفلسطين. وإن شاء الله للأمام بيرفع روسنا هون وخارج إن شاء الله.
إن شاء الله عليهم يعني دخلوا انجازات وشاركوا بالخارج ونافسوا الشباب.
كثير أحلى شيء كان في هون برضه البنات ما شاء الله عليهم يعني قدموا أداء رائع.
إذا أنت وما راح تتبعض في سباق مين بيفوز؟
طبعاً ما راح.
وإيش إذا واحدة من البنات بتفوز عليك مثلاً؟
إذا بتفوز علي فخر لإلي. أقل أنا بحب بعدين مرتي بتكيف. درست كثير بدها تصير تقول لي سبقتك.
No, don't get me wrong. I am sure there's plenty of people in the Palestinian society that disagree with what the Speed Sisters are doing. And by no means am I trying to take away from the practical problems that women in Palestine face. But it would have been very easy for us to fall into the trap of fulfilling outside expectations and creating a film about male oppression. And in doing so, we would just be reinforcing stereotypes that we're already familiar with. By showing alternative images of strong male characters who treat women equally will go a long way to creating new role models, whether that's in Jerusalem, Toronto, or Barcelona. We've seen this in action through Khaled and his family. Through his support of his daughter and her success, their extended family and community have shifted from being disapproving and skeptical to encouraging and proud. As Nigerian novelist Chimamanda Adichie has said, when we create a single story and we show a people in one way, and only one way, over and over again, that's what they become. But if we reject that single story and we realize that there's never been a single story about a place, we regain a kind of paradise. With Speed Sisters, our goal is to encourage people to continue the conversation beyond the film. And together, breaking through that single story and creating this type of paradise in a place we would least expect, in Palestine. But this is only one story. There's a lot of work to do. I encourage everyone to seek out and share stories that break our assumptions about gender stereotypes. There's many stories out there, they just need to be told. And I believe that Speed Sisters will be able to inspire audiences around the world, and men and women, and will create a new paradise that we can all share. Thank you.